Okay, let's see. There should be sound, and there should be a picture. Welcome to 52 Minutes' 27th live stream. It's Christmas, the 25th of December. Happy holidays. I figured there might be a few people around that don't have much to do today, even though maybe they would like to, or maybe not. But anyway, so I want to just keep whoever's out there alone on Christmas some company. This stream is not going to be as long as they usually are. I'll probably just keep on going for an hour. But happy holidays. Hello, Neon Caster. Happy holidays. Mark from Montana. Merry Christmas. I'm looking a little bit dark, aren't I? I'll fix that. It's a bit better. Pensive, how are you doing? Neoncaster, how are you doing? Did you have a good Christmas yesterday? Now I'm a bit too bright. Sorry, I'm picky with these things. Here we are. Yes, I did have a good Christmas. Spent it with my son and some family, and he got loads of presents, and so I was very happy for the day. So then everyone else was happy. I wasn't blessed with any sort of mountains of miniatures or hobby tools and stuff like that, which is, I don't really need more. So not right now anyway. So it was a good day. It was. We had lunch. Did the typical Swedish thing, eating pickled herring and gravlax, which I've dubbed buried salmon. Hello, Alison. Good morning, and happy holidays. I hope you're having a good day. Mark, did I say hi? Hello, Mark. Hope you're doing well. Fredrik, god jul och god fortsättning. God jul, Fredrik. This is like Patreon Hangout. That's good. Jesper the Cat, good morning from the USA. Happy holidays. Loved your wet blending orc video. That was a fun video. And I really do like wet blending. Like, I haven't painted miniatures in so long now because of this thing, the board. I might need to take a break and paint some miniatures. Yeah, that was. I'm glad you liked the video. Thank you. Jamie Mayers, happy holidays. Warlord Titans don't fit under the standard tree. Did you get one? Or did you buy some? Did you buy one for someone else? Gabriel, Merry Christmas. Bayside Blue, Merry Christmas to you too. Alex Davis, Merry Christmas. Hope you're doing well. Badger says, a Christmas miracle. I finally made a live stream. Yes, glad to have you. The Neoncaster says, I guess when you return to mini painting, it feels a little extra sweet. Yeah, kind of, or I'll just be annoyed. I just need to check if does this camera work? That's dark too. Darn it. Okay. I find with painting miniatures, it's a lot about sort of muscle memory, a lot of the time. And when I haven't been painting for, like last time, because the video before I did the board, I did a kit bash, and like last time I painted something, I think it was that diorama with the ship and the demon that crashes down on it. When it's been that long, I kind of usually feel like is this I got the brush the wrong way around, and yeah. Obviously, it doesn't take too long to get into it, but I always feel that it takes a minute or two to get it to get back into shape. I was actually looking for miniatures the other day for the game that I want to play, that I'm building this board for, which is called A War Transformed. And I want to build 2 armies for that, so that's going to be a lot of minis to paint. But I just have a hard time picking factions. There's like, I'm picking minis. Is it going to be like more historical type World War I miniatures? Because they have a look. They're usually not heroic style. They usually have small weapons, small hands, small heads, or like regular. Whereas a lot of other cool stuff that could fit the game is usually sort of heroic scale, which means they have huge guns. And I don't really know how to mix that up. Maybe it doesn't matter. Gabriel Brianna says, interested in painting Gundam model kits. I'm not right now. I think I've come to the conclusion that I just need to do the things that I'm doing right now. So like I'm building the board. I want to paint minis for that game. I also really, really want to finish my Stormcast army. Because that means if I set to that, I'll probably have painted it by this summer, which is probably when there'll be like a new edition of Age of Sigmar, and then change all the rules, and my army will be crap again. Because by then I think it'll be 3 years since I started it. But anyway, it's nagging me. I want to finish those miniatures. And so there's so many things that I already want to do that Gundams are not. That's not one of them at the moment. I also thought that don't Gundams kind of come painted already? Isn't that like one of the things with Gundams? I mean, obviously you can paint them anyway, but... Hello, Anna Karin. Hope you're doing well. It's good to have you painting and hanging out. Hello, Dr. Functional. The Neon Caster asks, what kind of theme would the armies have? Well, the thing is, you can go for sort of more... because it's a mix of sort of weird First World War with sort of magic and stuff. So pretty much every army has like a witch or a wizard or like a few units that are sort of a bit weird. But then they also have like bog standard troops, especially like the British and the French is still, you can just have regular soldiers and machine gun people and mortar people and folks on horses and tanks and that kind of stuff. But there is one faction, which is, the story is sort of, I might be getting a bit wrong, don't quote me, but sort of that you have German sort of traumatized and injured soldiers that have returned to the war. From the war, they've left the front, they go home because they need to like get a new arm stitched on or whatever. And instead of, because now magic is around, they become sort of healed by magic, which sprouts all these weird things. So that one of the things is that you have a fellow who's lost an arm and a leg, and so some witch pushes in a seed from a tree, like a natural seed, and it starts to sprout new limbs. So you almost get these sort of tree folk weird kind of people. The same faction has fanatics, because obviously they're a bit wrong in the head because they've been traumatized by war and then been turned into like religious fanatics because there's all these gods around all of a sudden. They have like weird monsters that kind of like fleshy type monsters with metal plates sewn into the limbs and like all this weird stuff. So there's that kind of a faction, and then if you want, you can just pick another faction and just run regular First World War troops, but with like maybe a wizard or a witch in there. So it's really open to like how weird you want to go, and it would be kind of fun just to maybe paint historical minis and have that for one of the teams as well. Not always take the sort of weird fantasy route. On the other hand, that really entices me, and I like that, so I should probably do that as well. Mark from Montana says, "War Transformed is waiting on the tree for my son. He's been wondering why we've been painting 28mm French troops. I hope he likes it. It'd be fun if you can play some games with him." That's a good present, Mark. Kostas, hello, and happy Christmas. Kasper, god jul, god jul. It's Swedish for Merry Christmas. Mark from Montana says, "Can't find British units from Wargames Atlantic." Well, there you go. Have a look at North Star military figures. North Star figures. I think they do miniatures for lots of games. Like Stargrave and stuff like that. They have a set of miniatures for the First World War that I looked at, and I think they're really fun. So they're not super, they're not over the top sort of scale model serious. They're a little bit more towards the wargaming side. They look really old, kind of like the way of sculpting looks like they've been around for a while. They're all in metal, I think, but they have some really fun miniatures. I think they've got a bit of humor to them. Like there's a squad. You buy like a pack of communications specialists, and like one of them is sitting writing a letter. I think the other one is like holding a pigeon. It's about to fly away. Stuff like that. And there's lots of sort of more situational kind of miniatures that aren't just shooting, which I find kind of fun. I just like the sculpts, even though they're probably, as I said, I get the feeling that they're a bit old. Don't know how old, but and they're not heavily detailed or anything. But there's something a little bit charming about them. I think it was North Star. If I'm wrong, I'll message you the right answer, Mark. They've got lots of British. That's why I'm saying what I'm saying. Adrian, how are you doing? Flying visit to wish you all the best for Christmas. Merry Christmas, Adrian. Good to see you. Jamie Mayers says, "Painting together with family sounds like a lovely bonding activity and a way of getting more squads ready," Mark. Yes, it's smart. You have fun and you get more minis painted. As long as you paint for yourself and not for someone else, I guess. You needs to be the right type of hierarchy going on in the family. Jamie Mayers says, "I did not get a Warlord Titan or any wargaming stuff for Christmas, but I did get lots of books about historical warlords." Non-Warhammer warlords then, like proper Genghis Khan folk and stuff. Neoncaster says, "Military wizard sounds fun, a cross between a military captain and a witch hat." Exactly. Big winter coats and all the spells ingredients inside. Yes. I heard someone saying as well, there's a game called The Last War Transformed. It's another alternative World War One miniatures game, and I believe someone is bringing out miniatures for them, and that game is more weird than a War Transformed. So that in the future might be a bit of a gold mine for a war transformed. Wait, I'm getting confused by all these names. The Last War. Anyway. I mentioned them all in the first video, building the board, so that's a bit of a reference if you're really curious. Pensive says, you ever get a bug to actually make historical minis from scratch in the old traditional way? No, I don't. I think that would be too fiddly for me. I really don't like sculpting much. I mean, I don't mind at all trying to, like, if I kit bash and there's holes and stuff missing and you try to sort of sculpt in something that looks a bit like whatever it is surrounding it, but not so much sculpting an entire miniature. I have built a bunker, though, which is fun. You're seeing the backside of it, but look at this thing. It's magnetized, too. Wow. Bunker. This is what I've been building the last couple of days, just because I realized my regular bunker really needs another story. There's not enough two-story bunkers around. Magnets. And this kind of stuff is fun, like scratch building terrain, because it's just not, that's not as fiddly as trying to make your own miniature. Placebo Pete, Lurker reporting in to wish you a Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you as well, Placebo Pete. Hello, Clyde Dashing. Merry Christmas, happy holidays, good to see you. Mark from Montana says, my son took me to his favorite gaming store in Chicago area, Games Plus in Mount Prospect. We went back a second time. Amazing venue. Now, you seem to have a lot of good gaming stores over there in the United States of America. I'm really happy about my Alphas build, but comparatively to some of the ones you've got, it seems like you have some very well-stocked places. Jamie Mayers, Last War or Trench Crusade? That's the one. Last War. There's another little bit to the Last War. It's like the Last War. Mama. Killing You Softly. Merry Christmas. Been loving your board game build. If you could have any model under your tree, what would it be? That's a good question. Any model under my tree, what would it be? I've been so focused on the board that I haven't been thinking about models for some time. I don't know. I mean, obviously, maybe some of that stuff that I was talking about, some of the North Star First World War little warriors, just to see what they look like, because I'm curious if they're, when you see them in the shop, they're all painted, kind of, and they look nice, but you've got no idea really what the actual sculpt looks like and how small they actually are and stuff. So that'd be fun to check out. Otherwise, I don't really know. Like, I haven't been looking at any Warhammer stuff at all, really, because I'm like, I've got my Stormcast, I need to finish them, so I sort of shut off to sort of, oh, that looks nice. What else have I seen? There's a guy on who 3D sculpts stuff. I think it's called Knucklebone Miniatures. Please correct me if I'm wrong, if you know what I'm talking about. He's got stuff on My Mini Factory. Also stuff that I've been checking out for this game. And they look like a lot of fun as well. I don't want a Warlord Titan under my tree. I wouldn't know what to do with it. Mark from Montana says, "I'll have Dave pick out the more exotic minis for painting. He certainly already has some." I watched that little video of yours, Mark. Mark from Montana has a YouTube sort of vlog style YouTube channel where he mainly paints sort of historical Great War miniatures and vehicles and stuff like that. But I saw you when your son was going through the board games he's bought. Kingdom Death, is that it? The huge one with all the expansions and the 6,000 miniatures or whatever. So yeah, he's probably got stuff in there you can use for a War Transformed as well, like the monsters and stuff. Pensive says, "Love your kit bashes, of course. And artillery tends to make two-story bunkers shorter." Yeah, that's this one's got just because I wanted some easier gameplay way of getting your miniatures in there and stuff. It's got the whole back of it is blown out. You can see it's sort of broken. So this one's already been shot out. It's also broken. Someone shot a hole in it right there. Historically accurate, I guess. Karen Golland says, "Merry Christmas. Wanted to thank you for your videos that I've just discovered this year. Your mellow presentation and energy mixes with your artistic eye and creativity have been inspiring. Thank you." Well, I deeply appreciate it. Karen, thank you. I'm glad you found the channel. Kasper Krogslund says, "Printer goes virr. Cleaning test prints for next year's release." Sounds exciting. When are you releasing, Kasper? Marcus, good morning and Merry Christmas, everyone. Merry Christmas, Marcus. I hope you're doing well. My regards to your family. Jamie Mayer says, "I met the Knucklebones Minis guy at the opening of my local library in its War Games room. Nice guy, variety of sci-fi fantasy dudes, all quite grimy looking. Some nice Mordheim suitable sculpts." Yes, it's very, very Mordheim-esque. I mean, I think there's a lot of, unfortunately, the old Mordheim stuff is expensive, but I think quite a lot of stuff from there would fit into this War Transformed setting as well. I'm glad you met him. I'm also glad you have a War Games room in your local library. It's a very adept library. Wish I had one of them. Bruce Rose, Merry Christmas to all who celebrate. Yeah, that's it. Everyone doesn't celebrate Christmas, obviously. The world is a large place, and us Christmas folk is only part of it. But I think in general, most of my viewers are part of that crowd. Mark says, "I've been summoned upstairs for the opening of gifts. Must go." Well, it's good to see you, Mark. Hope the tree god shall give, as in the Christmas tree god. I should maybe try and adjust this camera. This was dark, wasn't it? See if I can fix that. I just need to reach up and wiggle a button. There we are. Because I'm building. It's wobbly. It'll stop wobbling in a while. So I built this little bunker here, and it still needs sort of. I'm very proud, actually, especially with the magnetizing. There already was a bunker in the board, dug in, but I realized that when we drew out the plan for this board, this bunker and another one over here off camera, were drawn in as hills to sort of act as breaking up line of sight and stuff like that. And I was like, hills are boring. I want bunkers. So I put bunkers in, only I dug them into the ground, which means they're not blocking line of sight excessively. And so then I thought, okay, so I should try and make this structure into something larger, which is because originally you can just see its little roof there. So it was only this big. So I built up these sort of rocks, and these things here are actually magnets that I've camouflaged as steel whatevers, and built the bunker thing, which snaps on top into the magnets. But the only weird thing now is that there's not really any way of getting up into the top floor of the bunker. So I was thinking I should try and build some steps, kind of a thing, leading up to some kind of ledge up here and then up into the bunker. Something like this kind of a thing. Yeah. Grey Fox, thank you for the kind donation. Merry Christmas to you as well. I appreciate it. The Neoncaster says, I should do some holiday painting myself. Just finished a project, so don't know what in my backlog to pick up next. There's always the backlog, yes. You still mainly doing them sci-fi sort of, what was it? Was it Blade Runner stuff? I can't remember. It was... Goku says, really love how the table is coming along. Cannot wait for the painting. Hope for your sanity you don't go into quite the same detail you do for miniatures. Yeah, I'm a bit worried about that part myself. We'll see. I'm going to have a hard time not going into that kind of level of detail. I've honestly been thinking of trying to get people maybe in to help me paint it, to get it done. Yeah. And obviously I find myself getting stuck because I was supposed to just do the same thing on this side of the board as I did on the other side of the board, which was in my last video. And then, my mind says, no, build a better bunker. And so just fiddling with this stuff has actually been it's been going on over the past like 3 or 4 days, just building this little thing with the obvious sort of little pauses for Christmas shopping and stuff like that. So the same amount of time I spent on building this, I could have pretty much done, a lot of the other stuff that just needs to get done. So I'm just pushing stuff forward all the time, which doesn't either help in the production of videos, because now I'm going to have, after tomorrow, I've got pretty much more than a week that I've got my son and he's off from school. So it's not like I'm going to be down here all that much filming stuff for videos. We can come down every now and again and maybe paint something, but I'm not going to force him to sit in a corner while I make YouTube videos. So that, just pushes things forward. So I'm thinking maybe actually the next video might be just of me building this bunker, just to give me some breath of some time to breathe. Some time to breed. But we'll see. So yes, I'm a bit worried about the painting stage, about how much time, because I know people will. I can't do too many more videos on building the board. It needs to get painted, or people will just not. I can't be repeating myself too much. Bruce Rose, thank you very much for the donation. I deeply appreciate it. My chat has gotten away from me. Horatio says, really love the breadth of different topics and games you cover. Looking forward to the new steps of the board build. Also, whatever comes next. Yeah, I like it. There's more stuff out there than Warhammer. I actually thought that maybe if I do a video of just building this little bunker, I can actually incorporate that into a video where I actually properly talk about the game itself, just to introduce the game a bit more, because I haven't really done that. It's nice to just talk about different games and new smaller games. Casper says, not my sculpts, alternative Lumineth. I see, proxies. I hope they look nice. Oops, sorry. And that the test prints come out well. Bruce says, just a big thank you for all your videos. Your channel is a big source of inspiration, both for painting and for production. Your videos are some of the best examples within our hobby space. Thank you, Bruce. I appreciate that. Pensive says, the magnet clunk sounds satisfying. It's very satisfying, isn't it? I've got another bunker over here, which is just, you can't see it really, but I magnetized the roof of that as well. So I've got two versions of magnetic clunk. Let's just all quiet down and have a listen. See, there's two different versions. Casper says, we'll avoid posting a link unless you approve. No, go for it if you wish. And hopefully YouTube will let it through. Sometimes it doesn't like links and just removes them. But please go ahead and try. I don't mind. Hello, George. Merry Christmas and greetings from Germany. Merry Christmas to you as well. David says, Merry Christmas to you and yours. Thank you for your creativity. Best wishes to you in the new year. Happy holidays to the 52 Miniatures family. Wishing everyone the best and happy modeling. Happy holidays to you too, David. That's a nice comment. Thank you. The Neoncaster says, yeah, urban fantasy and cyberpunk stuff. That's right, cyberpunk. That's what I meant. Just finished painting our player character for a Blade Runner campaign. See, I had the Blade Runner. I was on the money, right? Julo, Merry Christmas and thank you for every and each video you make. Well, thank you for watching, Julo. Anna Karin says, dropping a Bigature mini thingy and hearing the ping from resin cracking and flying off is a painful sound. Yes, I'm sorry you had to experience that. It's one of the downsides of resin. I still haven't experimented in that. I got some resin, which is a very expensive and durable resin. I wonder if I got the bottle around here. Some of this stuff, which I want to be experimenting with, mixing it into other resins for printing durable stuff. It should make it sort of more bendy, but I don't know how the drop. You know, that's one of the big things about miniature printing is just pop that down there. We've got some product placement. Thank you very much. Oh, that blocks the bunker. Okay, put it on the floor. End of product placement. You know, it's the dropping them on the floor that sort of tends to be the difficult, the cracking. Jamie says, two-story bunker looks very cool, and I'm sure Bill Making Stuff will be very proud of your magnetizing skills. Yeah, Bill will never admit the fact that he's proud of anyone, I don't think. I'm just kidding, but not me, anyway. He's a very nice guy, Bill. If anyone in the chat hasn't seen, Bill Making Stuff has now released his new game called something. It'll come to me any moment. Bangarang in the Gutterlands. I believe it's a free game where you can sort of small sort of skirmish style shootout game with robots that, you know, hopefully you scratch build the robots yourself, because that's fun. Made together with a gentleman that I can't remember the name of, but that made the game called Tonks. So you can check it out on Bill's site. I believe there's a website for the game, and, you know, whatever. David Ernst says, by the way, thank you for sharing your cost-effective method for basing texture. Waiting on my supplies to arrive to make my own. Yeah, good luck. There's some. I have some further tips, because I didn't really get into what you can put into, you know, the paste. So for those of you that haven't seen, in my last video, I got my hands on some. It looks like this. It's called modeling paste from a sort of cheapy craft store called Systrene Grene. It's Danish. And it's kind of like, if you buy a modeling paste from like Vallejo, AK Interactive, or Games Workshop, Citadel stuff, it's kind of like, this is what that is if you take all the texture out. It's just the acrylic binder. I believe you can buy same kind of stuff from Liquitex or whatever. When you smell it, it smells just like texture paste, but it's got no texture. It's just an acrylic goo. And so you can add things to it and make your own texture paste, which will reduce the cost of your texture paste rather quite a lot, in my case, because I needed to use a lot of it on my board. But it works. I mean, you might as well do it for making bases for miniatures, whatever. And this was just, you know, kind of cheap. Even it's about €6 maybe. What does it say? €560 for 250 mil, and then you add about the same amount of texture, like sand and stuff. So, you know, in the end, it's like you have 500 mils, and whatever textures you put in there are usually like free, you know, sand, if you can find some sand, or it's just very, very cheap. But I wanted to give you a tip about some other things. One is stuff that's really, really fine grained. So kind of, if you can find, if you have a friend or whatever, it's like a carpenter kind of a fellow or something like that. Or if, I don't know, when you cut up stone, so you're making a marble top for a kitchen, and you have to cut some of it off, and this creates a dust. In this case, a marble dust. That kind of stuff is kind of like sand, but it's just it's exceptionally fine grained. That stuff is great to put into modeling paste. It's kind of weird, because if you have not really weird when you think about it, but if you have sort of larger, and I'm saying larger within quotation marks, but if you have larger like large sand, regular sand from like a kid's play sand thingy, the sand is actually kind of, the grains are rather large. And if you just mix that kind of sand with this kind of paste, it's kind of flowy. You know, you actually get a rather smooth texture, because there's a lot of space for the texture paste in between all the grains of sand, because the grains of sand are actually rather large, and so in theory there's quite a bit of space in between them, which means you get a pretty flowy, smooth texture. But the smaller the grain, you actually then end up with more of something that's like mud or clay, you know. And so if you want something that really has what ends up being quite a rough texture, you need to put really, really fine-grained stuff in there as well. You can also go down the route of sort of organic things, like if you make your own coffee, and once you've made your coffee, you've got ground coffee leftovers. If you leave those out to dry, that's something you can put in texture paste. Same goes for tea. Like if you buy cheap everyday tea that comes sort of in tea bags, it's actually usually very, very fine grained because it's sort of the cheapest tea. It's not actually leaves, it's like a powder. You can let that dry and try putting it in a paste. Or if you buy herbal tea, usually there's a mix of different things because it's not usually just the one herb. Like I'm drinking something right now, which is a Christmas tea. And can I do this? I don't know if you can see it from there. If you look at the tea bag, there's all kinds of, spices and things in there. It's actually real mixed sort of mixed grain. And so when you start adding all these things together, you have the really fine dust stuff. You might have some ground coffee. You might have some of this, and then maybe some regular sand. You can just create very different types of textures. I guess the only thing I don't know how to make is the stuff that cracks. When you get you can buy textures that crack, so it looks like a cracked, salty, old lake kind of thing. That I don't know how you do. That was me talking a lot. Killing You Softly says, your bunker reminds me of how grateful I am for 3D printing. Yeah, but this is a fun combo. Like the bottom of it is 3D printed and the top half is scratch built out of foam, which is a fun sort of combination. I've actually smeared a weird... Frozen sent me this quite a while back. I've never used it really. They call it a light curing putty. It's actually resin, but sort of in a sort of gooey putty. It's kind of consistency. Now after I carved this, I covered the whole thing lightly with that paste, and then I've sanded it. Mind you, I've been wearing a respirator and using my vacuum cleaner, and I've been curing it because you cure it with UV light. I've been using these cool glasses, which, I'll use for my next cyberpunk video. Anyway, sanded it down. So now it's like rock solid. And sort of concrete bunker textured, which is fun. Richard Hutchinson says, Skål and happy Christmas all. Everyone needs a magnetized bunker. I'm glad for mine, I must admit. Merry Christmas to you too. The Fox Mask says, now I've got some days to paint miniatures and build stuff. Thanks for the inspiration. Well, thank you for watching. I'm glad to hear it. Thank you, Slick, for the donation. Merry Christmas to you too. It's very kind. Felix says, I wish everyone a happy day and evening. I wish you one too. GBD says, Merry Christmas from Western Washington State, USA. Merry Christmas to you as well. This is a good nick, making this up as I go along, David. Just wanted to say I really enjoy your videos. Your writing is as brilliant as your builds. Your videos are informative and very inspirational. Thanks for sharing your talents. Merry Christmas. And Merry Christmas to you as well, making this up as you go, David. I appreciate it. I hope I pronounced this correctly. Is that Ewan Byrne? It's some tricky spelling, but I really appreciate the donation. Happy Christmas from Ireland. Really looking forward to seeing more videos of your gaming board. there certainly will be more videos. I'm actually trying to figure out how to do as few of them as possible so we don't get 10 videos on the board. George says, Soraya Tech Tenacious seems to be a popular choice for durability. Not yet tried it myself. Yes. That's another resin, which is supposed to be tough. I think maybe a lot of people don't use this because it's very expensive. I think a bottle is like $100. But I think the point is to mix it up with regular resin. The Neoncaster says, I'm awful at Greeble style builds, but I wonder if I have the bits to make something for Bangarang. You're going to give it a try? When the time comes, maybe. I have joined a collaboration / challenge together with Bill making stuff and a bunch of other creators. It's also an open challenge to the entire community called the Big Bot Bash. More information on that on Bill's YouTube as well, I think. He mentioned it in his last video anyway. He's developed a sheet, an inspirational sheet, where it's like you roll a dice for different limbs to then make a robot. So it's sort of you roll a dice for the head and you get an inspirational word, which is kind of like angry or metallic or grated or whatever. There's all these weird things. And then you roll another one for arms and another one for, so I said I'm going to be doing that. It's supposed to be, the video is supposed to be out the end of February, which already I'm thinking, how am I going to manage that? I thought I was going to be done with this board by now. Yeah, but I said I'm going to do it, so I'm really, really going to try and do it. Is that texture medium any different from using Mod Podge or acrylic medium as a base? Pensive. This is really thick. This is already like the texture of it's like Greek yogurt. Is Jamie Mayer's favorite. So it's like, already pretty thick. Whereas Mod Podge is pretty, that's just a fluid, So because this is, it's like, very thick Greek yogurt. So it's a lot easier to sculpt and, you get a paste if you add stuff to it. I mean, it already is a paste, but you get a textured paste when you add stuff to it. Whereas Mod Podge is very fluid. So you that just, can act as a glue to glue sand together, but you can't sort of sculpt it like a paste. Whereas with this, you can sculpt it like a paste, sort of like the regular texture paste that you buy in game stores. Anna Karin says, hamster sand and chinchilla sand. Yes, pet stores are your friend when it comes to a lot of hobby products, and definitely check out the sand section for mixed grains of sand. Felix says, that's a great suggestion. I think I'll visit one of the local stonemasons. That's the stonemasons, yes, and asked if they had some stone dust left over. Exactly. You can also use fine sawdust is another thing you can try as well. If you know someone with a, saw lying around, you can make some sawdust, put it in there. Christian Tien says flour. No, it depends. But you kind of want things that don't that aren't alive. That's the wrong word. You could try using flour, but I mean the thing is the stuff can start to like go moldy and stuff. It's kind of the wrong kind of organic. You want more dead organic. Maybe if you would roast flour in the oven or something for a long time. I don't know. But if you mix flour with water and leave it around for quite some time, it'll go moldy. Whereas if same goes for a lot of things, I guess. But if you mix sand with water for a long time, it won't go moldy. So yeah, I don't know. One should be a little bit wary with stuff like that. It's just it also, yeah. You want stuff that doesn't turn into a dough. So if you mix flour with something and it soaks up the moisture, it'll turn into a dough and not a texture as such. Whereas sand doesn't absorb the water, so it just stays in there as the texture it is. That's why sort of herbs, for example, like in a tea bag like this, once it's dry, usually it's just very dry herbs, like it's bark. It's like cinnamon bark doesn't turn into a dough. It just stays like cinnamon bark. So yeah, but one can always experiment. But I think flour would just make dough. Silk says the same about coffee and tea, which is very true. You don't know how it'll perform over time. Sand will always stay like sand, but sort of durability wise, with something more organic, will it like crack, fall up, and just turn into dust? I've actually I used to use a lot of baking powder when making bases, especially you have like baking powder, and when you put that on top of super glue, it sort of reacts and becomes this great sort of sandy type texture. But I found with some of them that, and even getting, because baking powder, if you buy it, the stuff you use for, just buy from a supermarket, usually contains other things apart from sodium bicarbonate, which is the active agent, which makes it rise and stuff like that. And I've bought pure bicarbonate of soda. Is that what it's called? I think so. And use that. But even that, I find on some of the bases I've seen over time, it's become less rugged and it's sort of turned a bit yellow. And in some places, it feels like it's sort of started to kind of scrape off. It becomes brittle. And so I kind of stopped using that. Need to denature the used coffee first and sterilize in the oven. Yes. But if you use things that are organic, I'd even do it if I picked sand outdoors. But just killing the organisms and stuff that live in there, is you can sterilize it by putting it in the oven. The easiest way is to Google that. It's a certain temperature for a certain amount of time. I done that with all the bark that I used on my table. Is sterilized. So if you go out and pick soil and all these cool things that you want to put in your dioramas, it's important to sterilize them first, and that can be done by sort of putting them in the oven. It's not excessively high temperature, and then you're a little bit more safe from mishaps like butterflies all of a sudden hatching from your diorama and stuff. Pensive says, I need to get myself a pair of those UV glasses. They're rather cool, aren't they? Especially the world looks very cool when you're in it. Jamie says, please wear those orange UV-proof glasses for the next thumbnail. Yeah. The Fox says, can you be an actor in Denmark? I think you'd do a great job. I don't know how many great acting skills I have, honestly. I could play me. Hello, Giles, and Merry Christmas. Merry Christmas to you too. George says, tonks are cool, at least an inspiration for me to paint my first tonk. Now I just need someone to play with or a second tonk. Yeah, it's cool with these games that are starting to come out that don't you don't really need all that many miniatures. Like you just need one may be boring, but 2 tanks or tonks playing against each other, or not that many, which is great. Casper the Printer says, mostly different Tech navy gray ABS, like mixed with tenacious flex black. Good flex and looks good in pictures. Okay. Calamax says, Feliz Navidad from Mexico. Feliz Navidad to you. Eric Brown, Merry Christmas to Alex in chat. I've been really enjoying the table build. It's been a big inspiration, painting up some synth wave Necromunda models while listening this morning. Glad to hear it. Thank you, and good luck with the Necromunda gangs. Pensive says, are you collecting the vacuuming of sanding the foam for your textures? No, I'm not, because I'm vacuum up all kinds of nasty things as well, like sanding down resin and stuff. The INTJ Soapbox says, absolutely do not use flour. That will ferment pretty quickly. Yes. Jamie says, yeah, that cistern stuff doesn't go with honey or berries and fruit. Nearly as well as I hoped. Upsetting realization, but still good for texturing, so not a dead loss. Yes. Please don't eat texture paste, regardless of how much like Greek yogurt it looks like. Tom Pintamini says, happy Christmas from Berlin, Germany. Merry Christmas from Berlin. I was in Berlin last Easter, actually. Kind of didn't. There's a big hobby/game store in Berlin, but it was can't remember the name of it. Yeah, I'm sure you know. But it was kind of out of the way for where I was, and so I didn't go. Glinda says, Merry Christmas all. Been using my army painted brown Battleground. It's cork dust. It's a little bit bigger than sand. It's pretty good. Cool. Thierry says, Merry Christmas, Alex. Got an airbrush for Christmas. Any tips for maintenance or usage? It's a great Christmas present. Keep it clean. That's my tip. I usually, when I use my airbrush, airbrushes are great, but and I use them a lot. I do find that they require a lot of simple cleaning, which usually isn't shown all that much in videos when people use airbrushes. Well, they don't really show how they clean their brush either, but it's always this tool that comes up, and it's all that was nice and easy, and then you edit out the 15 minutes of you cleaning the airbrush after you've used it. But I usually like if I airbrush something, when I'm done with that color, I rinse out as much as I can without spraying any. So using water. I have one of those pipette sort of bottles, one of these things. It's very handy if you have an airbrush. And so I pour that into the cup with the brush. I sort of rinse it out, do that a couple of times to sort of get most of the paint out. I then fill it again, and like hold the tip with my fingers so that when you spray, it doesn't actually shoot out, it bubbles back through, and you'll see that the cup starts filling up with paint again. And so I do that a couple of times. And then when it feels like there's not much paint coloring the water, I fill the cup again and I start spraying through water. And I found that if you just have a little bit of water in your cup when you start spraying through water, the last that comes out always has a little bit of paint on it. Like when it runs out of water in the cup, there's this sort of burst of air and paint comes out a little bit. And so I do that a couple of times. Then I usually put the airbrush in some water. I have say a cup like this, but it's only filled to that much. And so I put the airbrush in there so it stays wet. And I keep doing that throughout the entire session every time I change a paint. And then when I'm done with the session, I do the whole cleaning thing, but as a last step, I use some airbrush cleaner and then rinse it out with water. And then hopefully it's fine to go for the next time. And so there's quite a bit of keeping it clean in between paints, because sort of what happens if you just don't clean it out properly and you leave it for a little while, and then airbrush next color, and that all those little paint in there has dried and things starts to clog. It can also be a good idea to have. I have two like crap brushes, pardon my French, that I use for the cleaning, and it can be nice to every now and again, just while you're airbrushing, try and just clean the tip off a little bit before paint starts to actually dry on the tip, like the little needle that's pointing out. And sometimes it's difficult to just clean out with water, so then I have a little container of airbrush cleaner that I use, and I just clean off the tip a little bit and then wash that off with water while I'm airbrushing. So it's a bit of if you don't want to sort of get clogs a lot, it's just about repeatedly trying to keep it clean. And I try during a session, if I'm going to use the airbrush more than once, is try and not let it dry. So I just keep it in water if I need to go do other things and then get back to the airbrush. It's just been in water, so nothing's actually dried up in there. The Fox Masks, thank you very much for the donation. Thanks for the stream. Extra nice extra to your video. So thank you. I appreciate it. Clyde Dashing as well. I guess since the table isn't done, maybe the troops will hope in time for Christmas next year. I hope it'll be done faster than that. I'm soon going to start rounding this off. I promised I was just going to do an hour today. It is Christmas after all. Slick says I also bought an airbrush for Christmas. There's a lot of videos on YouTube on how to clean them. Yes, there is. Zombo, Merry Christmas. I hope you're doing well. I haven't actually received your package yet. I'm guessing all the mailmen are on Christmas leave, but it should show up in a few days. I'm looking forward to it. Jamie says, among other many good YouTube offerings, Squidmod did a good video recently regarding airbrushes that has a maintenance beginner section. That's a good tip, Jamie. Thank you. Christopher Williams says, Merry Christmas. What plans do you have for your neat gaming board? Bolt action or many different games? I mean, hopefully I can play many a game on it. But the direct inspiration comes from a game called A War Transformed, which is an alternative First World War game that was released only a few months back. It's written by a guy called, can't remember his first name, Kilburn Slater. And it's published by Osprey Games, sort of alternative First World War. But in theory, you could play any army game on it. If you're really not picky, you can play fantasy games on it as well. But I mean, it's got a future war vibe with trenches and bunkers and stuff. Michael Cohen, how are you doing? Just dropping in to say Merry Christmas to you, Alex, and to everyone on the Patreon I never get time to talk to these days. Well, we miss you, Michael. I hope you're doing well, and Merry Christmas. I'm going to end this stream now. It's been a pleasure. I hope the rest of you have maybe some time off during the holidays or something like that. Get some time to do some hobbying. And even if you're working, I hope you get time for some hobbying as well. It's been a pleasure. Thank you all for joining in on a day like this. And I'll see you again soon.